would like to tell you about a faith story. In June or May, I think it was May of 2015, it was time for my annual physical, so I went in, and the doctor then, my primary care doctor, thought that I had a serious urinary tract infection. So it went on for the rest of the month, and so I finally called him back, and I told him, I said, something's different. I said, because I don't think this is a regular urinary tract. I said, because I think I see blood in my urine. And he said, okay, so maybe it's time now for me to send you to a urologist. So that was at the end of May. I went to the urologist, and we did a series of MRIs, all kinds of medical work, blood work, and that sort of thing. On June 8th, I get the call to come into the office. So I go to his office, and he sat me down, and when he came in, he was really, really quiet. So I kind of suspected the worst anyway. And he said to me, he said, well, Tina, he said, I've got some bad news for you. And I'm like, okay. And everybody's afraid of the C word. So was I, and I just kind of knew that's what he was going to say. And he said to me, he said, you have bladder cancer, and it is right now right out of stage 4, very close to a stage 4. And I said, oh, really? Nervous, but then that little bit of doubt that's saying, okay, we'll see, because that's the way I am. So anyway, he said, he said, what I need for you to do is I need for you to meet with another doctor over at Duke. He says, because we've only got 6 to 8 weeks to remove the bladder. I said, and so what all does that entail? And he said to me, we remove everything, anything associated with the bladder. That's the only way to get rid of bladder cancer where you are with it. And I'm like, okay, but I'm not so excited about surgery, and I got to think about that one, because that's major. I said, you mean the one where you have to put the bag on your side and all this stuff? And he said, yeah. He said, but you just learn to live a new life. And I thought, okay. I said, well, I tell you what, I will go and meet with the other doctor. I'm not making you any promises, though, about surgery, because I need to think about it, and I need to pray about it. And he said, you need to pray about it? I said, yeah, pray. I need to pray about it, because ultimately that's who will make the decision for me as to whether or not I'm going to do it. So about 2 weeks later, he had to set up for me to go to Duke, met with the head urologist there, also met with the anesthesiologist. They were like ready. They were like, they just know we got to do this. And that's where I would end up, at Duke Hospital, to have it done. So met with cardiologists and just all kinds of people there to take do exams to see what they needed to do to prepare me for this bladder removal surgery. So what's going to be the best time for you? We need to make it quick. We need to get this done. You're too vibrant, and you're this and you're that, and you got a lot of your life ahead of you. But if we don't get this done, then that won't happen. He said, you just won't see that part of life. And so I said, okay, all right. I said, well, I'll tell you what, no decision. Not making a decision today. And they were like, okay, are you sure? And I said, I'm positive, no decision today. So he says, well, what should I report back to your doctor? And I says, tell him I made no decision today. And I'll make an appointment. I'll go in and I'll talk to him. And so I did that, left Duke. Somehow or another, though, with talking to them and coming down, it's like my faith was starting to already kick in to say, okay, it was like God was telling me, okay, now, Tina, I can do this. I can do this. So I'm like, okay, I didn't say anything. So went back. The next day, went to see my local doctor, my urologist. And he said, so I'm going to send you over to the oncologist over at the cancer center. And I said, okay, I'll go and see him. Went over to see him. And my son happened to be with me, because he's getting worried and thinking that, oh, mom's getting ready to have this major surgery. I said, okay, yeah, you can go. We went and we sat down and we talked to the oncologist, and he said to me, he said, okay, young lady, he says, what we're looking at is a complete cystectomy. And I said, complete, describe complete. And he did. And he told me what all they were taking out. They don't really just take the bladder, and they would take this. Pretty much, you were going to need a miracle anyway. So I'm trying to decide, okay, am I going to do this, or am I going to leave it there and take that miracle? Because I'm already made up in my mind somehow that God was going to take care of me. So I told him that, and I says, you know what? I don't think I'm not going to have the surgery. He says, you're right at a stage 4. It is already at the bladder wall. Once it penetrates that wall, it's an aggressive cancer. And once it penetrates that wall, you stand to have cancer throughout your body. And I said, okay. He said, so what are we going to do? I said, nothing. I said, I'm going to pray. I said, I'm going to go home and tell you, just like I told Duke, I'm going to pray. I told my urologist that that's what I'm going to do, and that's what I'm going to do. So first of all, though, I need to talk to the pathologist. And he says, well, the pathologist is not going to talk to you. They don't, that would be the middle person. They communicate with us. We send them the cells. They read. They tell us what it is. They will communicate, but they will not communicate with you. I says, my body, my bladder, I want to talk to the pathologist. And he said to me, he says, well, you can try, but they're not going to talk to you. So I call the pathologist at this particular cancer center, right? And so I called, and they sent me, gave me an appointment to come in. They said, we can talk to you, but the pathologist won't talk to you because it's just unethical, they said. I said, I said, that doesn't make any sense, but okay, I'm coming. So I went over. Had an appointment for 2:00 the following day. I went to see the pathologist. My son, again, was with me. And so when he walked in, I wasn't expecting to see him because they had told me that I couldn't see him. But when he walked in and he told me, he shook my hand, told me who he was, and he says, what can I do for you today? And I said, what I want you to do is, how often is it that a bladder is removed that doesn't have to be? Is there ever a time? He said, well, exactly what he asked me. I said, okay, then you've got my slides. You read my biopsy, and it said that I'm a stage 4 bladder cancer. And he says, well, I don't know really that it's a stage 4. He said, but you're probably getting close. You're probably getting close. And I said, okay, I tell you what, I think I'm going to opt out of surgery. I'm not having it. And I remember this so vividly. And I told him I had done my research. I said, I will do this. I will do a TURBT, and we can repeat that in 6 weeks. And I says, but surgery I'm not going to. I said, because God is going to take care of me. It was like God was letting me know, you tell everybody that I got this, that you're not going to lose your bladder. I'm going to heal you from this. And so it was just, nobody could make me believe any differently. I even talked to my pastor about it, and I told my pastor, and I'm thinking, okay, he's going to have some faith with me, and boy, this is going to be the way this is going to go. And he told me, well, now, Tina, if they need to take it out, let them take it out. I said, okay, bye. I didn't want to talk to him anymore. So I didn't talk to anybody about it anymore. I just made up my mind. I prayed and I asked God, and I could literally hear God say to me, I am going to heal you. I am going to move this cancer. You will not lose your blood. It was so vivid. It was like somebody was standing there. And I guess God talks to me like that because that's the way I talk to God. Okay, Lord, I don't know now. I don't know what to do about this. You tell me. I'm going to follow your lead on this. And so anyway, that's the way it went. So the next 2 days, because they were moving me along really, really fast. In the meantime, they hadn't heard a word I said about me not having it. all of this stuff started coming to the house, these packages, these boxes, these bags for the side, the bed pads and this, that, other. They had set up all kinds of things for me because they were so sure that I was going to go through with this surgery. And so I'm thinking, okay, yes, the devil will try to place a little bit of doubt. The enemy came in and said to me, well, since they're doing all that, you probably should. Nope. God said. And that's all I had to lean on was what I heard God say. So a couple days later, went in to see my urologist. And he says, okay, are you ready now? He said, you've already wasted 4 weeks. I said, no, didn't waste 4 weeks. I said, I'm not going to have the surgery. And he literally, you could see him change colors in front of me. He was like, Tina, do you know what you're saying? Do you know what you're looking at? Your life is going to be good for nothing. You're not going to be. I said, oh yeah, I'll be okay. And it was like I had this, I was just so sure that it was going to be fine. And I told him, I said, you know what? You do what you got to do. I appreciate you taking your tests and doing all this stuff. I said, I'm going to do some research. And then when I come back, let's schedule another appointment for next week. And when I come back, if you don't mind, I will tell you how we're going to proceed with this. I'm not saying you're not right. I'm not saying that I don't have cancer. I'm saying that we're going to do this God's way, which means first, I need to do some research and I need to come up with a plan. Me and God are going to come up with a plan and then you can do it. And if you opt not to follow the plan, then okay, God's got it anyway. So anyway, I came back. I called Bladder Cancer Society of America. I got information on bladder cancer. I searched the internet for webinars on head doctors for as far as the bladder cancer and head urologists. And I found 3. And I found one out of California that it was like click, click, it was like done. And he said that it depends on where a person's, what do you believe? Where's your faith? So I thought, okay. He said, maybe you need to have bladder surgery and just not need to have it removed. Maybe that's the case. And I said, well, okay, listen to him. In the meantime, I'm getting information coming in, reading material coming in from Bladder Cancer Society of America. And they were saying, and there are things that you should do as far as diet, start it now. And they was telling, these documents were saying that the benefits of dark green leafy vegetables, and it named the vegetables. So I bought them. They were costly. Baby broccoli sprouts, baby kale, not the full grown, get it in its newer stage, in its earliest stage. Baby spinach. Try to do organic if possible. So I did all this stuff. So, but anyway, so I said, well, I'm on my own, just me and Jesus. So I'm going to do everything that I'm supposed to do because I believe faith without works is dead. So even though I had the faith, God gave me the wisdom to understand and to know how to research and how to look for this and look for that and look. So went back to the doctor and he said, again, all right, Tina, last chance. Last chance. He said, I don't know. He said, we're all doctors. You've talked to how many of us have said the same thing? I said, all of you said the same thing. All of you. But this is one for God. I'm going to trust God. And he's got so angry. He said, Tina, since when did you go to med school? Not alone med school. Are you a urologist or you're a cancer specialist? What, you're not an oncologist? I said, no, but I'm just a little bitty old lady that's got a whole bunch of faith in God. And this is the way it's going to happen because now he's angry and I'm getting a little bit upset with him too because I've already told you I'm not going to do it. So I told him, I said, but I got this list. I have my little book. I says, what we're going to do is this is what I want you to do. I want you to do a TURBT. He folded his hands. He looked at me and he says, and do you even know what that is? I said, yeah, I know what it is. I researched. It's the transurethral resection of the bladder. And what does that mean? I said, that's where you go in with this little funny looking scraper thing and you just scrape some of the cells from there. I said, you do that, you let it go, and in 6 weeks you repeat it. And if it's just the cancer and it hasn't spread anywhere, that should take care of it. If it hadn't spread anywhere else, that should take care of it. And he said, so you're telling me now what to do? And I said, yep. It's my body. It's my body. So yes, I'm asking you. And if you choose not to do it, then I'll find another urologist. I said, or I could just opt not to do anything at all, because God's going to heal me anyway. That's what he said he's going to do, and that's what he's going to do. And he was like, okay. And he walked away. He said, if you change your mind, let me know. I said, okay, thank you. And he went. Then they called me and they wanted to do some kind of special, something with dye in the vein. They go through and they're going to try to see if it's some other. And I said, nope, not doing any more dye in the vein. We already did that. You can't do too much dye in the vein because it'll tear up a kidney. It will destroy a kidney. So no, I'm not doing that. I will only do that kind of MRI with contrast once a year. I'm done. We're not doing that either. So he said, so what are we going to do? I says, well, like I told you, we were on the phone. We are going to do the TURBT. Are you refusing to do the TURBT? No, if that's what you want. I said, and be careful now. And when you put me down for the I said, it should only take 15 minutes. I says, but when you put me down for it, make sure you know that you cannot use general anesthesia on me, because I may or may not wake up. And if I do, it can be days later. Check my records, go all the way back, and you'll see that I'm right. So I said, it's something called a Big Mac you can do. So we scheduled the Big Mac, went in, did the TURBT, went home. He called me and he said, well, okay, I guess we'll just have to wait and see, won't we? I said, yeah. I said, but you've got to repeat it. You've got to repeat the TURBT in 6 weeks. And he said, no, I don't. And I said, everything I've read says when you do a TURBT, it has to be followed up in 6 weeks. And he said, okay, all right, Tina. Okay, bye. Okay. So then about an hour later, I got a call from him. Okay, so you're right. So let's schedule you for 6 weeks from now to do the other TURBT. I said, okay. I said, and after you do the TURBT, just as a precaution, so you don't think I'm trying to play doctor for real all the way, then we can do a little bit of chemo, 2 rounds of chemo. He said, no, if we're going to do chemo to get rid of it, we need to do 5 rounds of chemo. I said, we're not doing 5 rounds of chemo. We're not. We're going to do 2 rounds. And I said, you're going to use the lowest possible chemo that does not take my hair out, because the one that doesn't take my hair out is not as hard on my body. So this is what we're going to do. He says, well, we need to do 12 treatments of radiation. I said, nope, we're doing 2 treatments of radiation. I think he was glad when I left Greensboro. I'm sure he was. But the story ends like this. I stood on my faith, because I was raised that way. I was raised to believe that God takes care of us. He created us, and that he will take care of us if you can reach that far, if your faith can go that far. And then even if he hadn't healed me, I knew he could. And if he hadn't, then it was something I was meant to live with. And either way, if I'm in God's hands, I'm good. I'm good either way. But I went back after that for a 3-month checkup. And they were thinking it would be the worst, because I hadn't said. I kept the 3-month visit. They went in the office, did a cystoscope. He was doing the cystoscope. He looked up at me and he said, He said, I really don't see the sign of the cancer. He said, I really don't see the sign of the cancer now. I don't see what I saw before. And I said, okay, all right. I said, but now we'll follow through and just see. And when do I need to come back? So I think I left out the part where I went back in for that last TURBT. And they came out, and the doctor was standing on one side of the bed. The nurse was standing on the other side of the bed. And she says, I don't know who you are. She said, but you one lucky dog. And I said, lucky dog? She says, it's gone. There's nothing there. I said, nothing? What about the wall? And what about the all over the bladder cancer? And what about, I said, it's gone. I started laughing. I laughed and laughed and laughed. And I was like, thank you, God. You told me. And you showed them. So I just know, I am 4 years now. Today is 4 years since that bladder cancer. I followed up with every single cystectomy that they wanted. Did I think I needed to go? No, but I just wanted to show them that if God said he's going to heal me, he's going to do it. He wasn't half doing it. He told me, I'm going to take it away. So every time I go into to have a cystoscope done for 3 months, I did that for a year. The next year, I went for 3 months. The next year, I went 6 months, and there's nothing there. And the last one I had was here. And this was the first time I'd seen this urologist. And he had read my story, and he looked at me. And when I went in his office, he said, so you're the one that told them that they wasn't taking your bladder, and that, he said, why did you tell them you wasn't going to do it? I said, I told them that God was going to remove it. God was going to take care of the cancer, and I wasn't going to lose my bladder. He said, just out of curiosity, why were you so confident in that? I told him, if you knew my life story and knew some of the things I've been through things already that no man could take me out of. Nobody could help me. I said, and God came through with every one of those. And so I asked God, and he knew that me losing my bladder was going to take me down too far or whatever. I wasn't going to be able to handle it. He said he won't put no more in me than I can handle. So he took away the bladder cancer. So now I'm free. No bladder cancer. Doctor says, don't need to see you no more. Once you hit the 4-year mark, it's done. And so we're done. It's gone. Praise God, it's gone.